We've had our short rest. Is it time for BBEG? Not in terms of a physical confrontation. The big bad evil guy right now is time. Um, which is an interesting thing. Should you fight against time? You kind of always have been fighting against time this whole time.
A
So
little
I
bit.
guess Ivalon, yeah. This is a big bad evil guy fight. They're
It's always
fighting
been crunch
against
time.
time.
We've been getting crunch for 4 years, y'all.
All right, so the group has met halfway, and was Loki going to visit the ship, or are you going to turn around of your sister, or are you going to turn around and go back to the wreckage?
And if the doppels have to walk back and forth, then it makes sense that we help them. We're this far anyway. And Norallie needs as much metal as, I guess, anyone can carry. She wasn't exactly specific on how much she needed, just that she needed it.
Well, I assume we just need enough to repair the ship. Maybe some extra.
Repair it somehow, because the ghosts are no longer a thing.
Well, we'll try something else.
We'll figure something out. We gotta do it quickly though. So, I suppose the more hands grabbing metal bits and bringing it over is the better.
So Loki, are you going back to the wreckage behind you, or are you marching ahead to the Norallie?
I'm gonna go to Norallie.
Okay.
Gonna keep her some company.
Okay. So, Bright, Celine, and Mordecai continue on, and you, after another half hour or so of walking, you do reach the rear half of the Wild Cherry, rested atop the Shattered Hill. What do?
Well, with as many doppels as we can, as are willing to help, we're gonna get as much scrap metal as we can to get it back to Norallie.
All right. The doppel pair that had come through before are reunited, and the bickering does begin again. How long does your tongue's spell last?
An hour?
An hour? Okay.
So I might be on the tail end of it.
So yeah, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to understand much, but they are. There seems to be some fighting, and one is pointing to his nose, and the other is just like I'm not sure what's going on. And seeing this after the first. Ooh. Celine. Yeah. Celine has a thinky thought. It might be that the tree itself didn't close or end, but there is a difference, because the one doppel that's here is the one that has a pocket full of dirt, and the other one doesn't have one. Considering who it was that cast this this connectivity spell, there might be a connection there.
So wait, which one went through the tree? Okay,
the one that went through the tree. Okay, had a pocket full of dirt from the hallway at your feet.
Huh. Good to know.
But this one has gotten a lot of doppels excited. There are, as you appear, many of them are just sort of like throwing little rivets and trinkets and gauges torn off of panels and things like that at your feet, Mordecai.
Well, I didn't want them to pile it in front of me. I wanted them to pile it in front of the Norallie. But, we need some way to cart this.
As you're here amid a growing pile of trinkets at your feet, there is a clank clank of rather heavy feet, and the three of you can turn to see that there is the dowry guard dwarf, the Shadahar soldier dwarf, who is attended to by three doppels, and he's simply watching them throw pieces of the ship at you.
Hello, friend.
What's all this?
We have a ship to repair. And we're looking to collect as much scrap as they can possibly part with, and get our ship repaired so we can get back in the air, and hopefully all of us get to Brisbane.
You know how to repair Shadahar airships, do you?
Vaguely.
I'll take that as a no.
I mean, I could use someone who's knowledgeable to instruct on how to properly get one up and running. But the problem is that the ghosts that fuel the engines, they're gone.
No fuel? Huh. That'll make it easy then. It's not gonna go anywhere. I could fix that hull right proper, but unless you got the ghosts.
Well, what about any other way to power the ship?
Well, I don't suppose you have a way to control the undead, do you?
Well, not available to me today.
Might be able to help you put some ghosts back in the machine. Take a long time to do.
I don't think we don't have time for that.
I don't know what to tell you then. Other than, if you help
Doesn't
me,
it seem a little bit unethical though to use ghosts in that way?
Why? They're dead.
Shouldn't you honor the dead?
They're honoring us for living on, building a society that they themselves enjoy during their lives. Besides, fair number of them, terrible people. So their deaths were actually put to public use. Now, hopefully, maybe not all the ghosts are gone, and I might be able to show you how to milk at least a little bit of something out of that machine. As I had the pleasure of walking through it before I was waylaid by the.
I think the metal's gonna suffice.
What you gonna do with metal? Throw it at it?
There's a lot of things you can do with metal.
Well, sure, I could look at it, I could stand on it, I could watch it rust, I could paint it. None of that's gonna get that ship in the air, or help you, or even help me. Because, look, I want out of here as much as you. And in fact, you might be pleased to know that I don't want to go in the direction perhaps you think I want to go.
What direction do you think you want to go?
If I can help you milk a little bit of life out of that machine, maybe you can drop me off someplace along the way, and we'll part ways. Life will be happy and peaceful for us both, and you can go on and do whatever you want with your pieces of metal. I want out. I'm tired of it.
You want out of Shadahar?
Yeah. Dowry guard. Pfft.
It's been, what, centuries
Up the Shadahars, and up the dwarves, too. Caught in between gears, I am. No, I'll forge
Why
my
would you?
own. I'll forge my own way. In fact, from what I understand, there's a small community of my folk down in I think it is where you're from. Maybe I could go live with them, but I don't want any part of what's going on there. Tired of the names, tired of the war, tired of the sickness purveying everything. I want out, and I'll help you get out if you'll give me a ride too. Now, do you want
I
someone
was
who knows
going.
about these machines or no?
I was going to help you anyway.
So, well, fine. Whether you was or weren't, I said my piece. If you accept it, I'll work. You give me a ride down to, what was the place called? It's the mountains down there, or something that looks like a face, I think. From what I
That's
understood.
Damasco.
Yeah, that's the place I saw on the maps. Place there, right in the middle of the eyes, kinda. Good mountains, good stone. I hear there's good people who might accept me as a bit of an outcast, you could say.
Well, first, we would be going to Brisbane.
Don't let them say me.
You can stay. You can stay hidden around for all I care. But we have friends there that we need to help.
Fine, sounds like you're the one in a rush, not me. Except I want to get out of here from these things. And he hikes a thumb over to the doppels that have been following him around.
Have they been treating you poorly?
I got a meal and a bath. Just
Which is more than any other prisoner could say.
they're making me really uncomfortable and squidgy.
Why?
Look at them. Plus bogans. Creepy little things. I swear one of them even winked at me with my own eye.
Well, if they haven't treated you poorly.
Doesn't mean I want to live around them. I like trees, don't want to live in one.
Well, I suppose that's valid. But
Look, Shadahar is going to shite. I want out. I want south, where it's warmer. I'm tired of serving them, and I don't want to be up here with the dwarves. I know what they do to me.
But what they do?
Yeah. Pretty terrible things. They don't like us dowry guards. People that they see as betrayers. Not like I had a say in it. Just because their king was killed, queen stolen away. All of a sudden, because my family was caught up in it, I've inherited the sin of ages long past. Great. So, I'm accepted by neither. Fine. I'll leave them. Not like I have much of a future in either of these places. Especially not after winter sets in again. Never could get duty down there. They always kept us dwarves up here, the Shadahar did. Envoys, useful. Yeah, especially with that governor, Sapfolk. Phew. Strange fellow that is.
I'm very curious because we might run into Sapfolk again. What's his deal?
What do you mean?
Who is he? Where'd he come from? He doesn't look like any Shadahar or any Dragonborn, for that matter, that I've ever met.
I could tell you what I heard. I don't know if you'll believe me. You think that I'm full of the same shite I wanted to escape? That's fine. I'll tell you what I know. I know that at one point, Sapfolk, most like many others, he went to go visit the Imperial capital. Went in for a promotion even. Long time ago, even before I joined the service. This culture's been around for a while now. And from what I understand, he came back out from that place. From the main Imperial Palace, a changed man. Almost like a living dragon he was. Fierce, green. Did you ever get to see him? You can't miss him in a crowd.
I
Eerie.
think I've seen him a couple times, actually.
Always that glow with unnatural light. Just a presence about him that's, not of this place. But such is what happens when the favor of the Emperor falls on you.
Well, strange as that may be, it may not have been the favor of the Emperor he was meddling with.
Honestly, Emperor, I'm just a kid. I don't see the harm, but I'm more than certain there's other people who've been, pulling him around. Especially
Like
after
his
his
puppet.
family, after his parents died. They'd been thrust into the center of things, and, well, it had been made all the more easier for us to begin our little southern trips, I suppose you could say. And that's been going on for a while now. But, look, whether or not there's been nefarious things that's going on, I know that the Shadahar and my folk don't get along so well, except for those of us who loyally serve. Sounds like he was quoting or something along those lines. I don't know. Are people, have people gone missing? People been changed, transformed by some, something or another? Probably. Don't know. Don't care. Want out.
Seems seems a bit sad that even Shadahar and their loyal servants, quote unquote, don't want to be anywhere near that place anymore.
It's not what it used to be. That's for sure. Shadahar used to be a place where you could live in peace, with a chest full of pride. Things have changed a lot, and pretty quickly, too. And now with, apparently the Emperor dead, the winter's getting longer. I don't see what's there. Lord of Shadahar, same. That's why they've all been moving south. I'm moving too.
Everyone's moving south because it's almost as if the north of the world is just freezing.
Yeah. Well, the heat's going out in Shadahar as well. Can't say I necessarily know what has been keeping it on this whole time. Never asked, didn't care, did its job, kept me warm. But, a lot of things are starting to fail. A lot of things are changing.
Well, here's hoping the rest of this time is spent making the world a better place. And, you know, when a lot of the metal's been kind of collected that can be collected, it's finding some way to cart it over to the Norallie is the next thing on the list. You know, walk and talking kind of thing.
Well, well, help. I don't care if you put me back in my armor. If you don't want to trust me with a weapon, at least trust me with a tool. I'll be happy to go with you. Do we have a deal?
Sounds like a deal.
Right then.
Welcome aboard. What's your name?
He goes to clasp, and instead of just shaking hands, he clasps your forearm in his, and he has a mighty grip as well.
Strong man.
Deck is my name.
Decker.
Decker.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Decker.
Yeah, that's what I said, Decker.
Welcome aboard.
You telling me that? That's my ship you got. Now, why don't you follow me and I'll see what can be done to fix it. It looks like, in fact, now that you're looking, the doppels with like metal, like some of them just have large like sacks full of it that they're pulling. Some just have a little trinket. They're making their way out to the back where the rear of the ship is set into the hollowed hill. Apparently, they know the way.
I suppose I'll follow them. Where exactly are they taking it? Is it back towards where the elder's place was?
Yep. And the elder's place. The elder's place has a lot of doppels that they have bags of metal, but they look very confused. And as you all emerge onto the scene, there's a lot of they're talking about, they're pointing, things are going on. They don't look panicked, but they look very confused and in need of guidance.
Okay, I'll cast tongues again. On myself?
So the one that had come through, apparently its name is Deer, with the pocket full of dirt, was able to just walk through and disappeared as the green light came, and as the others followed. It's like they were just left behind.
We might have to walk.
We can walk. It's heavy. I can't bring all this metal.
I don't have a way to levitate it all either.
As you speak, there's a yellow-green glow coming from inside, and this doppel named Deer just pours out like an ooze, like a sap, and reconstitutes, and looks at everyone. Where'd you go? I thought you were following me. We're supposed to go through here. Take us to the tree, and then the ship. You're supposed to drop the metal off. We can't go through there. You went through there. We couldn't go through there. Well, why couldn't you go through? Did you try? Yeah, we tried. There's all kinds of...
Look, I think it has maybe something to do with maybe that dirt you're carrying. Maybe if you split it up with between a bunch and kind of assembly line it, actually, where we have some who are just coming and bringing metal down, and others are going through and taking it through the portal.
We just need dirt?
Just specifically that dirt.
Oh, it's special dirt?
You can say that.
It's special dirt. I said it. Do I get something?
Dirt. It's helpful dirt.
All right. Yeah.
Maybe split it up a little bit between some people, and we'll have those who have the dirt are taking the metal in towards the Norallie, and those who don't are bringing metal from the wild cherry down here.
Yeah, I think I get it.
To make it more efficient.
Huh. I have an idea. He grabs a bag and dumps out all the metal and disappears back into the roots. And you just watch this doppel liquefy and sort of absorb into nothingness.
I can only assume he's going to go get more dirt.
About 15 minutes pass, and he comes back with not an entire bag full of dirt, but a lot of dirt. Got it! Now, we just put dirt in people's pockets and they can go back and forth like I did.
Either way. We could chain it or we could do it that way. Either way.
He goes around and starts putting dirt in pockets or in equivalents that these doppels have. I might put dirt in the bag of a naked doppel. We'll come around and put dirt in your pocket. And in Celine's, Bright, I imagine, might cooperate. I don't know. She might be very suspicious.
She might. I don't know.
But the dirt is at least offered to you and Celine.
For the sake of expediency, we could put some dirt in Bright's pocket.
By carrying the dirt, you seemingly can go back and forth from this place to the tree that the elder had linked to this place.
Mm-hmm.
And in a sense, it's as if you're traveling with the elder, as you have him in your pocket.
Mm. I just feel bad. He was just trying to be helpful, and look what it got him.
You want to head back to the Norallie?
Yes, with some metal in hand.
Okay. So, you return. You return with Decker, though his pronunciation might give you pause for a minute, as the E's sound a little bit like I's. And he begins to tour the place, making a lot of notes, shaking his head at some things. I don't know how they're gonna do this. And just sort of muttering, going around every... If you want to attend to him, you certainly may.
Mordecai's just going to inform Norallie that they've brought as much metal as they could muster for the moment. There might be more on the way. Where does she want it?
You would find Loki in the cockpit area, talking, I don't know, wistfully, but you might actually walk in on Loki just talking to his sister through the speaking tube. I will let Dark Wolf narrate the scene as Mordecai enters the bridge on, because Loki's sitting in the seat talking to the tube back and forth. But go ahead, Dark Wolf, and you can describe.
So Loki's just kind of like sitting in like the captain's chair or whatever, talking, and he's just resting his chin on his hand. And when Mordecai comes in, he just kind of motions for him to
what?
To walk over.
How's it going, you two?
Okay, I think I figured it out. You
figured what out?
Norallie's not good at it. Let's just say that. Don't be mean. So she needs metal because the metal needs to be put into the engines to be magnetized by her electric magic, essentially.
Oh. Why didn't I fucking think of that?
Probably because that concept doesn't exist.
Doesn't it?
No.
Magnets
Electromagnetism would not be.
Magnets exist, but electromagnets do.
So that being said, though, Mordecai, the fact that Loki is talking about this and having originated from Norallie is probably baffling / concerning? Question mark. Like, where did this come from? and on top of that, Mordecai, you would be reminded of Cypher.
You can't just take ordinary metal and just make it magnet. It doesn't magically happen that way.
First off, it is magic. Second off, apparently someone. Yeah, it was Zwuvia.
Zuvia?
No, I'm pretty sure it was Zwuvia.
I don't know. She gave me letters, and that's really it. I keep beginning to think that she likes to toy with things too. But
yeah, metal in engine, I guess. It really just feels like I need right. Like some broccoli.
It just feels like the right thing.
Yeah, like if it feels different than what I'm saying it is, but apparently that's what we gotta do.
Then that's what we'll do. If that's what feels right to do, then that's what we'll do.
Yep. So how's the collection coming?
The collection's actually going pretty well. We've got a bunch stacked outside right now, I think.
Alright. Well,
just waiting for it to get put into place where it needs to go.
We'll save some pieces to repair the hull, but whatever doesn't need to be used for the body of the ship, throw into the...
Yeah, exactly. So... and so... anything that needs to be... any, like, holes that need to be repaired, obviously I'll put Decker on that. And then the rest of the metals getting put in the engines, question mark?
Well, as you're having this conversation, Decker will come in with a list, and he just walks in and looks at you. It's looking grim. There's not a ghost in any of the engines. I don't know how you're going to get this bird in the sky. Beyond that, and he'll go over just a whole checklist of damaged components and hull breaches, etc.
Well,
whatever needs to be fixed.
Yeah, repair the hull breaches. Those are the most important.
We'll worry about the fuel.
We've got an idea. It's a wacky one, but it's an idea. And Mordecai is going to take some of the, like a big, like, sack full of the metal, like, bits.
Yeah.
To wherever, they can to get it into the engine, the actual engine donuts.
There are, like, physical, you can open it up and people can go into the donuts, like corporeal people can. So.
Okay. But yeah, he's gonna start wheeling some of that, kind of evenly distributing it between all of the engines. And and see what happens.
You spread metal around the interior of a metal donut is what happens.
and then inform Norallie that what we could muster to bring is in the engines. And she might feel a weird tickle here and there because there's hull breaches that need to be repaired.
Should I wait for the things to be prepared before I try anything?
Yeah, I think that would be safe, because if we go too high, I feel like we're gonna run out of air.
That one would be good.
So, we want to avoid running out of air but we do want to get airborne. So, if there's some things that can be repaired quickly, Decker.
There's only so much I can do with my arm and my tools. Even if I grow large, I can get a little extra work in, but I can only do that so many times.
There's a legion of tiny people. Damn.
Well, I believe we're surrounded by one, but I'll tell you, there's probably half a brain split amongst 100 of them. I don't know how you'd actually coordinate them. Besides, some of these things are much more complex. I need someone who can actually, like, physically repair some of these things. Even if I could instruct them. I can't instruct a bogan. You see how ignorant they are. If someone could actually at least follow instructions, I could try and quickly... Now, up for the party to decide if you think Bright would offer it. Bright does have the ability to cast, not just mending, because that's very low level, but actual fabrication and these higher level construction spells. But the question is, would she actually expend the spells to do this under Decker's instruction?
I think she would, because she understands the importance of getting us up into the air and moving. If it requires things like mending or fabricate or, things of that sort, I think she'd be willing to do that, because it means that we're not stuck anymore. It means that we're getting back to where we were originally trying to do, which is to help Cypher and Seltur.
All right.
I think Fluffy made it clear that was, Bright's intent going forward through NPC work, is that she's going to help in whatever way she can to get us, airborne.
All right. So, with Decker and Bright off to do the bigger repairs through physical might and magical prowess and instruction, and you also notice over the course of time, because this isn't like 15 minutes and it's good to go. We're not changing tires. So, it's a process, and you are absolutely welcome to feel concerned and anxious, because despite having, 100 doppels, you even have a dwarven engineer, and you are blowing spell slots left, right, and center on this, on this machine to try and get it going again, on the hopes that Norallie can do something with the metal, that you are having the doppels crawl inside the donuts and distribute around. But this is going to be a process. However, as the day wears on, as the day turns to night, as the sun rises again, piece by piece, parts of the wild cherry are stripped, cannibalized, taken, and part by part, you are able to patchwork, polish, and pray your way into trying to get the Norallie in some working order. Norallie, this is a very interesting experience you feel. As you're almost feeling the little tiny, little ants crawling over you. Not trying to bite you, but just, they're always present. Every once in a while. The voice of your brother, of Mordecai, etc. will come through the speaking tube. But you are getting at least tingling feelings where there were no feelings. And the tingles will soon go away, where it almost feels like you can start to flex a little bit more. Though you are still in this space of nothingness. But beside you this whole time is this presence. There is no particular glow, no particular anything that's eerie or just floating there or especially supernatural. But it really does just feel like not even a friend, maybe just like a family member is by your side as this happens. Can't be seen, not necessarily heard, but is felt. Probably with the exception of a slight throat-clearing sound when you mispronounced her name. But besides that, the ship is worked on consistently as the one day rolls over to the next, and the sun rises high in the summer sky. A storm is rolling in, another summer storm, similar to the one that you had rode in on. But the Norallie's 3 engines are filled with metal. Repairs have been made at the cost of a lot of magic, a lot of strength, and no small amount of embiggen fighting between the dwarf and the gnome, who are trying to outdo each other's girth and size at on occasional moments. And it's time. Norallie, there's not much else that they can do. You can feel your body, you can move in a sense. You don't feel discombobulated and out of disrepair, though you do know that this has been taxing. You actually feel very tired because you have not gotten to sleep. You have not gotten to rest. There's been no replenishment of your spiritual energies, your spell slots, your ki, whatever you want to call it. You're bleary, but you're whole. Or at least as whole as 100 doppels, a dwarf, and the Chroma Company can make you. Out in the middle of nowhere. But Norallie, you're told by a gentle voice, it's time to fly. Which, at the same time, is spoken into the voice tube by at least one of the members here. I don't know if it's your brother or Mordecai, who wants to vie for the captain's seat of the Norallie.
Before we start, I don't like that you guys have been calling me the Norallie the whole time. Just call me Norallie. But I think we should name the ship the Wild Magic.
Translated, I guess, through Loki speaking to the tube.
Yep. And Loki's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. I am not flying until someone paints it on the outside. Fine, we can do that later.
You can't see them, but probably Mordecai and others are staring at you after you after you threaten that.
It's the wild magic, though. I'm going to cast Ball Lightning. Every level I'm able to cast. Oh, here it goes. This is gonna be at 5th level because that's the highest spell slot I got.
Okay. I would also like you to roll a percentile with this too, please. $54.
I did not realize that I was muted. I was talking that whole time.
Oh. Norallie, this is a tried and true one for you. You're immune to being intoxicated by alcohol for the next 5d6 days. So, Norallie, you call lightning, and lightning comes down from the summer storm. This personnel carrier, again, it's back, and in all honesty, the doppels don't have a place to go. In this time, by the way, Mordecai, you were told that the home village is completely, like, the home, like, city is completely empty. There is nothing and no one. It is barren, but there's also no corpses or anything else. So, in an out of character sense, what I had narrated about the presumption of the giant black worm that sluiced its way out of the front half of the wreckage, you can imagine that Shonaroth, or that agent of it, had made its way through that undead city and left nothing behind. Not that you need an extra fire under your butt to proceed ahead. But the doppels, the remaining doppels here, there's only these ones that were able to help you. And they've worked tirelessly, continuously telling each of you, thank you, hugging you, helping you as best they can, offering you food and water, whatever you need. As you just have this small band of them, the survivors of terrible atrocities that had been visited upon them. They're small. There is room in this armored personnel carrier to take them if you'd like. You can tell them to stay, though.
You know, there are a group of people who have been orphaned.
Yes.
Orphaned because they were taken away and now have no city to go back to. It only makes sense that we adopt them. Norallie would want that.
Yes, I would.
So adopting 100 goblins.
101 goblins.
Yes, we're adopting some goblins.
You invite them aboard the Wild Magic, as Norallie had insisted the ship be called. The storm surges, and the lightning strikes down. As it does, it just absolutely dances over the skin of the Wild Magic, charging it. The hair on all of you just is standing out. On, like, even like your eyebrows, arm hair on your head, everywhere. Like it's like you're crackling. You can't even get within a foot of someone else before there's zzz. So all of the doppels, of course, are just like, you just hear all sorts of static shocks and zaps and everything as this thing is becoming a battery for this magic, for the lightning that just pours out of the sky. And in all honesty, I probably couldn't think of a better it writes itself moment for the christening of the Wild Magic than to have it become an actual battery for this stuff, as Norallie has twice or thrice now demonstrated what this result can do. Now, Norallie, as this happens, within your cosmic self, however you want to describe it, with your incorporeal self, you can feel yourself again as you are made of lightning. You have this feeling now that while there's no place to fly that you can, you are as close to being real again as you have since you made that wish not so long ago, but also forever ago. And just how you had limped along in the descent. You can levitate. You can fly. And, Norallie, you are feeling, while you're not getting wet, you can feel the rain now as the clouds have opened up with this outpouring of electricity all around you. But you might be able to take care of that.
Instinctively stop the rain in a 20-foot radius.
Storm Guide. The couple of leaks. Oh, go ahead.
I also will control which way the wind blows.
Yes.
So that it heads towards Brisbane, or what I assume is the direction.
Yeah, Mordecai's probably piloting at this point to get us in the right direction.
All right. I mean, Loki could swing an elbow and try and take over, but I figured it might be Mordecai, so I had him in the pilot seat here. The leaks that are coming in from the rain and even the whistling of the wind, because not everything, like, well, the formerly the Norallie, now the wild magic, it's functional and it looked okay. It's not a beautiful ship. But you know what? The scratches and dents and everything, there's a story to it all, both in how they came to be or how they were attempted to be buffed out. But as Norallie on the interior of the ship is coming into this realization of herself, she's using Storm Guide, almost like a little force field, cuts off the water from leaking into the cockpit through the various cracks. Like some glass had been able to be recovered, but it was never going to be fully fitted like it was. But as Norallie's Storm Guide manifests, it's almost like you just have this perfectly clear windshield now, where there was busted glass or some, kind of hobbled together panes to try and keep the most direct wind out of the face of the pilot. She envelops the ship with this protective shield, and the winds, well, hopefully shift in your favor. And Norallie, you are welcome to fly now. Well, as the wild magic, not a, you are the Norallie, but the ship is the wild magic.
All right, Mordecai. I don't know where we're going, so just point me the right way.
Aye, Captain.
And Norallie, you can feel that almost like a hand on your shoulder with a finger pointing, ahead. Mordecai, as you grab the controls of the wild magic, you swear you can almost feel Norallie's like softness or her heat from her shoulder in that control stick as you two make that connection. Like it's almost like you're right there with her or she's with you. And I mean, if you talk, maybe she hears your words, but if nothing else, she does interpret your will, your direction. And now, Norallie, it's a little odd. You're having to learn to fly, not just using your feet or hands, or I'm not quite sure how you did it before. We didn't get into the minutia of it, but let's say that you kind of, in our real world terms, kind of Iron Man'd it with your feet and your hands. You don't have both your hands, but what you can do is use maybe your feet in your tail or your hands in your tail. In other words, you're having to relearn something that you've done before as you're adjusting to this. Now you have 3 ways to propel yourself forward. So it might be a little awkward feeling for you. And Mordecai, the ship is going to kind of shimmy, shake, and shudder. You might even have a close call. But as you and Norallie are beginning to sync up in your communication, in talking through the process, Norallie, you will find yourself humming and buzzing with electricity. The 3 engines that remain do just crackle with this overabundance of electricity. And Mordecai and even Bright and Celine have borne witness to this as well. It does not just the static electricity, but the way that you're moving. It does feel natural. There's no longer that high pitched whine of the undead, as baffled as they are through the machinery. And the way that it moves as compared to controlling the ghosts is maybe more intuitive for you, Mordecai. It doesn't feel like you're having to fight back against forces. This is just almost a determination of it's going where you want it to go.
There's no other wills to fight against. It's just energy.
As well, this is an energy that's provided to you, as this is everywhere. This magnetism, this old magic, this gravity, as conversations with you, Bright, and Celine can be brought up regarding the professor, who has been able to, in short stints, actually manifest in a temporary basis. Now, what that means for old magic, Shadahar, I mean, these are people who came from the old world, which is really your world, Mesotopia, Mesomaska, even was an original source. This is a different take on that same old magic, and this is a presence that is everywhere. You're not taking a soul, or you're not controlling a ghost. It's not an opposition, a domination of one will against the other. This is using a copious natural force that exists everywhere. And you're able to glide along it to take you where it is that you'd like to go. And so, the wild magic lifts, wobbles, might even spin a couple times inadvertently. A couple thrills and spills. But the storm guide shields are up. The water and the wind stop leaking in. And the wild magic begins its trek back towards Brisbane. And as you do, Mordecai, throughout the ship, the doppels that you all have rescued, that you have promised a new home, from the places where they were, that formerly carried soldiers en masse, now are filled with the few survivors of what used to be thousands and thousands of doppels, now reduced to maybe 100, including children and the infirm, the elderly. But they begin to hum and sing in their joy and in their happiness. Some of them who have taken what possessions they have, some simple instruments, play a song. They hum along to it. And that song reverberates through the ship, not even necessarily with the help of the speaking tubes. And there's no words to this song. It's just a song, an expression of love, of hope, of deep, deep sorrow, the grieving of all of those that have died, including the elder. But perhaps on that horizon that you're taking them to, there might be a new life for them. And as this song makes its way up to you in the cockpit, it's a very familiar one. Now, out of character, I don't know if you as a player have the music in game turned down, but
I have the music turned on, actually.
Okay. As their strings and voices tilt and lilt, almost like the wild magic itself. The storm rages around you, though quiet and controlled. The land passes under you. Trees, hills, grasses, ponds. Animals, deer, out in the bounty of summer. Maybe their last, even, as they feed. But the wild magic brimming with electricity, zapping through the mild summer stormy sky. The deer look up and watch. The trees with no eyes can feel the vibrations of the ship pass over. As you continue to fly further and further away from this place, towards the outland town of Brisbane among the dwarves, where hopefully it's not too late for two other friends of yours. And as the storms and the raindrops pitter-patter and streak away, almost like just passing stars in a night sky, as they hit this shield and fly over, for all of you as you look out the windows and contemplate whatever it is you contemplate in these moments. Sorrow, sadness, joy, fear, great fear. You can think and feel the things that you do. And you can imagine the paths that each of you had taken in your lives. After all this time, after all you've been through. Bright was on a ship to go meet her favorite author, Delis of the Blue Flame, leaving the jungles of Uct. Celine, from the sands of Aslandia, who had holed herself up for a while further south in Lacuna in the Dragon Graveyard, making her way aboard the Lellywellan's Gamble without knowing anyone. You contemplate the siblings of Norallie and Lokiadius and what they've been through in their lives, individually and together. You imagine the cold winters that they had suffered through, that they've survived through, the snows that they've trudged through, and even those of your own in the places that you've been, where sand and snow alike have coalesced. Their thoughts go to yours, trekking through the desert, through all of these other places, through Oiho and back, through the various countries here in Mesotopia, and even beyond to the horrors, not just the beauty that lies in the skies. Because we know Shonaroth is from that place, now manifest here. And you fly for a while. You're welcome to sing. You're welcome to contemplate, to cry, to comfort, to joke around. As no doubt Bright will probably play a trick on someone at some point. Appropriate or not, it's going to happen. But through the storm, Norallie guides you. And there, well, would that it were a tree. However, what you see instead on that rainy hill is a broken and dying creature of metal and of flesh. Whatever protective wards that had kept it out of sight or were holding it together, Mordecai, as you're the first to notice that there was at least an illusion to look like a normal ship, those are gone. There's not even anything that is fidgeting or sparking or an illusion that is waning before strengthening again and reducing once more. There is a broken, possibly dead thing upon that hill that had borne you from the capital city. And as you're having those moments, as I described with you riding in the wild magic on your way here, at another place here, at another time before now, in your arrival, to see this thing, wet, soggy, a derelict itself, though in a way not as horrid as the one in the Doppel City. Something else has happened. And for my players, I will welcome you to watch the stream for this. And for those of you in the audience, thank you, by the way, Dom Tulio, for the raid. I would like to show you what has happened during this time that the wild magic has been incoming to Brisbane. wrong one. Sorry. This one. Not that one. Where did it go? I just had it. Sorry, everyone. One moment. My technical error. I have to take us back to the lobby for it. I've drug it into the wrong scene. I'm sorry, everyone. Hold on.
To me, and it might have meant a thing or two if I'd known the difference. Emptiness, a lonely parody, and my life another smoking gun, a sign of my indifference. Always keeping safe inside when no one ever had a chance to penetrate or break in. Let me tell you, some have tried, but I slammed the door so tight that they could never get in. Kept my cool on the lock and key, and I never shed a tear, and now the sign of my condition. The fear of love or bitter vanity, it kept me on the run, the main events of my confession. Kept a chain upon my door that would shake the shame of gain into a blind submission. The burning ghost without a name was still calling all the same, but I just wouldn't listen. The longer I stole, the further I crawl, the further I crawl, the harder I fall while scrolling into the fire. The more that I saw, the further I fall, the further I fall, the lower I crawl, I kept falling into the fire. the door.
Now, the Chroma Company will explain what happened on your descent in later. There's no time. As the wild magic had made its way in, and in a sense been suffused into the Repentless. Within the Repentless lay a dying Seltur. The mistress whose all-consuming desire for power, for wealth, for glory had left her with naught but an empty treasury, and so too an empty life. She was dying. In the last moments that she had, the first coin that she earned, quote unquote, was consumed. And lastly, the very last piece of treasure that she had was really the only thing that had remained in the treasury after the crash, and that was Snowball's cage. Absorbing it, destroying it, consuming its value, gave her one last push, but it wasn't enough. Because it wasn't just the things that she needed to survive. She needed more, and something that she could never get enough of. Because she could never have any, given her fuel source. But there on the scene, on the other side, filled with an unlimited source of energy, of the feeling of worth, of pride, of joy, even to the point of still being able to feel on top, to feel the best you can be. Seltur needed something that she lacked herself, and even Cypher was unable to give her. And that is love. Love, the honey of the flower of life. A resource that is bountiful, plentiful, grows without taking, gives, overflows. And so, Seltur was saved from being bound in that empty treasury, that room of nothingness where she had spent a lot of time before. Not just as captain of the Repentless, because that would never be enough. Sobbing, questioning, seeking solace in her servant, the Minotaur bard named DJ, who was able to play her music, to soothe her, to fill her, if only for that brief moment, with something that no treasure could ever fill. And it is in this moment that Seltur, here we have Norallie, as she had snuck up and actually heard the lamentations of the captain of the Repentless, who may have just repented in some way, That's a question for another time. Because currently, we have Mordecai, Bright, Celine, Cypher, and Norallie outside of the Treasury Vault. Seltur, who despite, if you ask her, would have the blackest, most shrivelest heart, the greedy bitch queen herself, of all dragons, still had a small place for a small creature, an insignificant thing from the desert that she had kept and given a special place in another special place, that of her treasury. And in that moment, on the brink of non-existence, Snowball was able to break through that door and kindle that last little charcoal black piece of her heart. And as the doors open, with the Chroma Company and 100 doppels singing, celebrating, filled with urgency and love and concern and friendship and so many other intangible things that have incredible power in each of our lives. The doors open. Seltur, holding Snowball, emerges. There's no time for questions, however. Mordecai. Seltur takes a step forward, goes to say something, stumbles. The lizard flies off. Norallie catches it. Mordecai, Seltur has fallen against you in your arms. But she's dying. Or something. Something's not right. Seltur is... She's not dead, but something like this almost... This is almost like with Argent. There's a weird something that's happening. What are you doing? Seltur's body is almost like crumbling or dissipating in your arms, Mordecai.
I am gonna hold her and prop her up, of course, because, you know, girl gotta be on her feet. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. The oh man.
How about an insight, if you would like a clue?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Because I'm. Oh, why that number?
Mordecai, this is... You're not sure, but she's alive. It should have worked. Something like this happened. Now, this is a storytelling technique. We're going to tell a little bit about how Norallie, who is manifested physically here beside you, but that detail wasn't necessary in the immediacy because you had a job to do. You had someone to save. Norallie was able to be reborn through merging into and with the Repentless. Her body had already been able to process and reform from the remains of the Repentless. Which, by the way, Dark Wolf, if Norallie looks any different, you are welcome to modify her appearance as you'd wish, because your body has been reconstituted from a great many things and parts, and colors and dimensions and sources. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but just so you know, you may. And in fact, it's not just Seltur who's dissolving. You can see aspects of the ship, the biological ones, are starting to dissolve and fizzle and bubble away as well. It's not holding itself together.
Norallie, how did you get your body back?
Um, metal? Magnets?
Norallie, you can also say that you were able to be absorbed by the Repentless. You as the ship, as the wild
Magnets?
magic, were effectively you were the pill to hopefully help. You know, the point was to try and get her supplies, and you were able to travel through her, through the wild magic, and to be here. And in fact, that's why you're the first one to have manifested. And you were able to bring yourself forth from the components of the ship.
I just I just used what was on the ship. I-
Mordecai, your wife Celine looks at you. It's the fuel source. Because this was something she had talked about.
Mhm.
If Seltur's not using this fuel source anymore, then something it can't sustain her. She can't. Nothing had changed about Norallie. She's been herself.
Then
But
another source?
Norallie's or not Norallie, Seltur's body's deteriorating because it's not held together by what it was.
To have to be something new.
So, Selter, what do you want?
What do you mean? What do I want?
What do you want for your future?
I just want to be, just want to be loved.
Norlai's going to just hug Selter as tight as she can.
Mordecai will do the same. And invite Cypher in if he's actually like pacing around.
Yeah, like Cypher's standing by and is Cypher's never been the most lovable. Not that he's been a bad guy. He's just, love has not always been a priority to him. He's studied academic
He's
things.
prickly.
Uh, so he can crouch down and uh, kind of come in for an awkward and then pat her on the back, uh, sort of a thing.
Cypher, you need to put more emotion into it.
Tell her how you feel, man.
Selter, we make excellent partners together.
That's not how you confess, dummy.
Selter, I forgive you for scratching me when we combined.
Selter, how do you feel about everyone in this room?
I feel hungry. And her body continues to wisp. You're getting almost like a smoky effect. Like you've seen her when she poured dramatically out of the chimney to appear before you for the first time in her ready room. When she was able to stop the assault of the Sky Shatter Leviathan on your emergence from Oiho. A similar effect, a similar discorporation. And you see that those wisps are being drawn towards Celine.
Selter, We all have our unique ways of expressing that we care about you.
No, Mordecai, says Celine. No, I don't think. I mean, she probably would have wanted to eat me for what happened. This is. There's a resonance. There's something. We feel almost alike.
Like she needs.
Do you know?
Food?
No, well, like she and I are somewhat the same. Do you know when we tried to dive in after Bright, how we were able to leave ourselves?
Kind of.
I it might be something like that. It feels similar. That kind of detachment. If you trust me, I might be able to help her. That said, no eating me, Seltur. Celine looks sternly down at the discorporating Black Dragonborn. But she's not responsive, though she tried to get a rise out of the rather upfront character.
Mm-hmm.
Celine looks at you, Mordecai. Do you trust me? I will do my best.
Of course, I trust you.
I might be able to find a way to contact her or be able to act as a bridge. She's switching. She's going from something that she was to something else. But I might need, well, ... Mordecai.
A kiss?
She quietly nods.
And quickly, Mordecai does give Celine a kiss.
You go in eagerly, and she holds her hand out. Wait a moment. She closes her eyes and begins to mutter a prayer, a recitation of something. The incorporeal presence of Seltur begins to be drawn into her, similar how you've seen her draw in ghosts and other spirits before. And she kind of winces, like this does not seem fulfilling or pleasurable in a particular way. Hold on. Yes, I can be a bridge with whatever I am. Hold on. Ah! She screams, and as she does, that lifelight pours from her eyes and her mouth. Mordecai. Yeah, I'm able to, but I'm gonna need some of your energy, some of your life, your love, Mordecai. And you see that Celine, kind of clutching herself, staggers over towards you. Loki and Norallie are there watching as well. Bright is kind of standing back. There's all the doppels who have gathered around in a big semicircle here in the hall as this is playing out.
Mordecai is not going to hesitate. He's going to kiss her.
You share your life with your wife, and as you do, you can feel this is a deep drink, Mordecai. And there's a presence now that is coming between you and Celine as you kiss. And she's actually, well, let me double check. She's actually proficient in this. She is able to push you away. No more. No more. And as she does, she spins around, and for all to see, Celine is kind of stooped over, clutching herself. And she falls down on her knees to bridge death to life. And she falls back, and as you do, Mordecai, you can see that her body is bigger than it was. This is
Oh.
not the embiggen spell.
Oh. Uh-oh.
And in this moment as well, 1 second, I forgot to open this up. Bright's eyes widen as she watches this. Oh no. Oh. I know what I have to do.
What? Who's doing what? Where?
Classic. Bright. As Celine, as you are stunned, looking around at what's happening, Mordecai. And then, of course, we have the siblings of Norallie and Loki. We have all who are in your realm present. Cypher, the doppels, and everyone. Almost akin to you being a king. As you stand by and your wife falls. Bright comes over to Celine. I have to do this! And draws her dagger.
What? What?
Plunging it in. Celine, still alive, gasps. As Bright pulls out a large egg, pulsing with internal light, from Celine.
Reach over to Celine and cure wounds?
She inhales deeply, and it's going to take more than just a cure wounds. This was a grievous thing, but it was going to kill your wife otherwise.
Yeah.
Her body is rent and is open. Like, you can see her organs inside from where Bright had rushed over to try and save the life of Celine and of Seltur.
If Norallie is okay and she can hold Seltur up, I'm going rushing over to Celine and I'm dumping a mass heal.
You pour not just your life, but your magics born from your life and your faith into Celine, and her body greedily soaks it up and begins to knit closed. Well, I say her body, but it's not really hers. It's Corinna's. Bright, holding the knife and is bloody. Her eyes are kind of confused and wild, but she clutches this thing as she backs away from, the two of you. Didn't this happen before? Bright says. This was something that was going to happen.
I think at this point, Celine would be very, very much in shock because she had this dream where Bright took a knife and cut an egg out of her belly, her pregnant belly, and would just be in shock, I think. And Mordecai just kind of looks at Bright like, Wait. I don't know. What would possess you to do that?
She was gonna die. It was in the vision. I saw it happen. She died in front of me. Something had to happen. No one was doing anything, and so I did. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at medicine.
Uh, um,
And Celine's body has sealed, and she's conscious and groaning. She's not dead.
that's good.
Though you can see with this, well, formerly very intimate view into her, that there is at the joints of the bones, at a lot of these things suffusing the tissues, there is this low life light, like holding things together. You can see yourself, your life, your energy in that moment of her being completely opened. That, I mean, it's Celine, but it's neither her nor Corinna. You're the one who's holding her together in that regard. But her body does close.
This is a lot to take in. But an egg?
You guys told me to use protection.
There's a distant a growing whistle. Cannon fire.
Oh. I don't like the sound of that.
Clomping down the hall to the treasury is a very familiar Minotaur. Running. Just absolutely, like, almost like steam breath coming out of the nostrils. Seltur, we have to move!
AJ, over here!
Where is she? We have to go now!
We could all aboard the wild magic.
The wild magic? What is that?
My ship. Let's just go. No questions.
There's no other ship. This is it.
Oh. I thought there was the wild magic. My bad.
It got eaten.
Oh,
Then
I was confused. So the
uh,
Repentless is now
where do we want to go?
Anywhere but here.
Oh, wait.
It's the governor's ship.
I'll fly. Don't worry. I got this.
The Repentless's body takes another barrage of cannon fire as it is being beaten by this capital ship that apparently DJ tells you, explain later. Can this ship even fly? It looks terrible.
Well, I guess there's only one way to find out, Norallie.
Am I able to control the Repentless now?
That's a good question to ask.
Okay, too bad you didn't let me get a rest, or I would be wishing. Yeah, let's move the ship. I'm going to fly towards the captain's or the bridge or wherever. And I am willing the ship to move. I am giving the ship my fly speed with Winsel.
You begin to run towards the bridge
Fly.
of the ship. And you can hear the whining of many engines now, as Governor Sapfolk's ship is very, very close. You're seeing, as you're running as well, through the corridors of the Repentless, that it has changed in some ways. What at first looked like maybe ribs or veins or arteries or other connecting tissues, there are ridges, but more like roots. The smell of wet muscle, the tang of blood, is still present in parts, but is being overtaken by the smell of moss, the smell of electricity in the air before a storm. The flesh of the Repentless, something that you were used to seeing ripple and move, is doing just that. But chunks of it are falling away and absorbing, yes, as if the ship is eating. But it is also replacing.
When the ship takes damage, does Norallie feel it?
No.
Okay. So I am fully separated from the ship. Got it.
Yes. You all make your way through the body of this massive bioship. This thing. Trying to remember the ways, but the corridors aren't exactly the same. Why are there flowers here growing out of a mouth? Anyway, don't think about that right now.
Is there a window?
You get to the controls, Norallie, and the first thing that you said you want to put up your storm shield or something?
No, this is Winsel.
Winsel, okay.
It is granting flying speed to this is number of creatures within 30 feet. So, assuming that the ship is still a creature and still Seltur, I am giving her flying.
There is... I mean, your ability goes off, but there's nothing that is apparent that happens from it. You've used it. You have felt the ability travel through your body to discharge into something else.
And then, can I see outside from
No.
here? How do you run a ship without seeing where you go?
It's a very good question.
Is there metal in the engines at
There
this
is.
point, Norallie?
Oh, in the engines. There's no way to tell that.
Oh. Crack some lightning into it, see what happens?
Like, I was going to do that, but I can't see. I'm gonna grab the controls, use a shocking grasp, and see if that does anything.
You grab the controls, and it almost feels like, not physically, but in the feeling, not that it's an exertion of will through a machine, but you're almost getting like another hand interlacing fingers with you. There's a reach out. There's like a warmth that you're touching something else that is holding back. That you're holding it, and it has made contact with you.
Alright, come on, Seltur, we gotta get out of here. I'm gonna attempt to fly the ship.
You're there. Come on, Seltur. Nothing is overtly responding. There's another volley of cannon fire, and the ship shakes.
Can
Uh,
I use electric fence, but surround the ship?
You could try. It doesn't sound like a bad idea.
This is my force of will. I'm going to try to protect this ship with lightning. I can't see outside, but I can set up a fence.
Your spell, it goes off. You've discharged your spell into the ship. Nothing overtly happens. It might work, it might not.
Is there Mordecai's? Is that a little bit of a loss?
Celine's kind of hanging onto your shoulder, like she's clutching herself. She's functional. She's conscious. Like obviously she was in a bad way there when Bright made an emergency removal, but
Yeah.
of this dragon egg apparently. But she's there with you, and she's looking over at you.
Well, let's see. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do?
Loki Adius is going to look for an area where he can see the ship outside.
Yep, so Loki takes off.
Mordecai is going to Hail Mary a little bit. Something that he wants to kind of incorporate into what he's doing is to get the doppels to play that song again.
Okay.
And he's going to sing some lyrics he's been coming up with because he's been hearing the same song in his head.
All right.
And going to channel that into a aura of life.
Make a performance for me at advantage, Mordecai.
Oh, yay. I'm good at these.
You still know how to do that.
I still know how to do that very well, actually.
21.
That's an average roll for me, 21.
In this moment of distress, of pain, of near death, with a threat very literally looming over you, you begin to sing, and the doppels also chime in. The same song, though you're teaching them words that they didn't have. They had the music, and of course the music was coming through to you as well, but they're catching on to your words. They're able to resonate with you very well, Mordecai. And this song begins to fill the ship. We cut to Loki. Loki, who very deftly has been making his way through the ship, and whereas before the ship was really cool and he felt comfortable, now it's beginning to feel off. It's beginning to feel kind of like that old Doppel's cave. But fortunately, you're no longer caught in claustrophobic caves of wood or stone or dirt. As you make your way to the top deck, Loki. Now, you can't hear the song that's being sung from within the belly of the beast. But a song all the same does soothe the savage beast. And in this case, the panic, the despair, the fear. Loki, you see growing out from the repentless things like roots, tendrils. In fact, you might even hope they're tendrils. That you might feel a little bit more comfortable if they were. But things that maybe fleshy roots, not necessarily just wood or pulp. But they begin to grow. And they grow into, like, over the hills and into the nearby river. They plunge outwards and into the hills of the fertile farmlands. More and more begin to unravel, unfurl, and burrow. Similar to how the black maggots had burrowed into and through the undead. Whatever these are tapping into the very lands themselves. And you can even see, Loki, that there's a notable drop in the water level of the river as the Repentless drinks deeply of it. The tendrils worming, maybe literally worming their way through the land, pulse. As, well, maybe not known to Loki, but as rocks and minerals and nutrients, soil, as even the dead of the graveyard are pulled inside. And growing up and around the Repentless is something akin to a cocoon, oozed out from its sides, built by other tendrils, just slathering the mud, the rock, the debris, water pumping through giant pores. Another volley from the cannons of the governor's ship. They impact, but the cocoon takes the brunt of it, shattering somewhat, yes, but then it heals. It grows thicker. And Loki, soon, you can't even look up into the sky, as the cocoon drinking from the land itself enshrouds even the top deck. There is no visibility outside, even if there were windows, even though you're on the top deck, if you climb the remnants of one of the shattered masts of the Repentless. A muffled volley of cannons. Soft, dull thuds. But no punctures, no blood, no oozing slime or the grinding of metal gears as they work to knit the flesh closed again. But a growing warmth, a pulsing, a rhythm akin to a heartbeat. Back inside the Repentless, you all who are singing, there is a heartbeat. There is a pulse, a th-th. You can feel the warmth. You can see the walls that are changing and growing. And the egg that Bright has squirreled away pulses with the same rhythm. The same internal life light as well, as the song goes on. But it's here, as the Repentless lies in a pulsing cocoon, just outside the town of Brisbane, drawing upon the lands themselves, the air, the soil, the water, the rain as it comes down, and what little sunlight comes through, all being absorbed. It is here that we will end this week's session, with the governor's, the Imperial supership just above, and hovering like a buzzard over a corpse, or a snake ready to strike at a nest. And we'll find out what happens next week.
Oh boy.
So, I do want to thank you, Coffee and Dark Wolf, for making it this week. And I'm sorry for the power outage on behalf of Fluffy Sheep, who I'm sure would have found it interesting to be here this week, as well as Lethality. I was really hoping they'd be able to, but it is what it is. And
we may have to confer with Lethality about the mental state of Celine right now.
yes,
A dream of hers came true.
yeah, that's been happening a lot more lately now.
Yeah, on a house.
Uh-oh. Man, King Mordecai, Queen Celine, you even had your 2 kids, Norallie and Loki, there.
Oh. Don't tell me that, because then one of the Halloweens that I had is going to come true.
Weren't you running from some sort of like a dragon invasion and something like that, though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, weird. Oh, what's flying over you right
Casimir
now?
the dad? And then Casimir turned into a dragon?
Uh-oh, Mordecai, you might have to have some words with Casimir.
Oh, boy. Watch, the end of the story is going to end just like my last Halloween did.
Wow, wow.
Wow.
Also, by the way, Mordecai, you are probably in your mid to late 50s now.
Yikes.
Yep. That was about 10 years more of life that had been drunk from you in an instant, as the process of life.
A dragon egg. Yep.
Celine used herself as a border, as a barrier, or as a conveyance between life and death, which is exactly where Seltur was hovering. And in that moment, she decided to choose the side of life. And so did you by contributing your own. So, through, well, really, Corinna's body, has Seltur been reborn? Has she repented? And if so, what are you going to call the ship? Is it still the Repentless? These questions and more.
If we're looking for poignant names for ships,
Magic 2.
Forgiveness.
Oh.
I
don't know if Macabre Derek's still out there, but obviously, Derek, you have a say in this as well. Derek, this is kind of literally your baby. So we'll offer you suggestions, but I'd be interested to learn. We'll give you ideas. Forgiveness. It could still be the Repentless. I'm not against it, but given what happened, I guess we'll find out. A little touch of wild magic, and we see what happens. But everyone, we are going to go on a raid. Let's raid another group that is playing some Dungeons and/or Dragons. We're gonna go raid Legendary Action Official. I love their studio setup for their games. It's really cool. Hopefully they're having an amazing time. And let's go over and raid. And if you need us, we'll be on Discord. We'll be back here next week to continue the story, as this is going to resolve. And, well, things are going to happen that's going to pop them to level 20 real soon. And that's going to be
Dragon Ball Z.
That's going to be a hell of a ride, everyone. So be well. And thank you for hanging out. Goodbye.
Goodbye.